Hey, what's happening out there, YouTube family? This is Robert L. Jones Jr. coming at you again with some more Tribe of Judah poetry. All right. The first poem of the evening is entitled Truest Freedom and Liberty from the Womb. Some bizarrely outlandish and stone idiosyncratic formulations of devilishly scripted ordinances of man done surely suckered out and had blindly tricked up all of my innately peaked and independent properties of proudly witted and soulful individuality into a crazily converting and insanely permuting delusion of an overwhelmingly brainwashed cipher mode, gradually becoming so comfortably absorbed like tightly captured water to thirsty sponge within them conventionally mesmerizing customs and those mindfully damnatory edicts of pseudo-democratically subduing influence and supremacy, so-called. And a deviously infamous legion of snow white-haired, angrily opaque, and irately wrinkled gatekeepers have commonly been so notoriously boisterous and so pragmatically adamant with their wickedly subjugating persuasiveness and their ingeniously cunning subliminals of subterfuge, mouth, and evil, as they nefariously be dominantly dragging along my Kunta Kinte enlivened impetus of suavely dope and funky Nubianness into that abusively rude and mentally cursory muck and mire of slavishly existing underneath the oppressively cuffing and unevenly yoking distress of a millennial Toby, who is totally and completely swaddled alive within this bottomless anathema of being treacherously subjected to a robotically programmed enlisting of faintly inherited precepts and allegedly pro-constitutional paragraphs of mightily deceiving yakety yaks and side of the neck talking this and that, which actually don't be really meaning a mother freaking thing to me, to be brutally yet candidly honest with thee. But a continental west side, sorely inaccurate and falsely chit-chatting verses of vainly scribbled fibs and empty promising brabble, be shown enough going through the effectually force filtering appendage of one auditory sound collector, and thereby be making a painfully unproductive exit stage right from that evil sonic excreting force of a righteously secondary earpiece of wisely acoustic awareness and lucidity. And a stone epic and simply revolutionary dosage of some humanly sufficient knowledge and reasoning be perceptibly spitting and freestyle rapping their truthfully clear and voraciously transparent choruses of some heavily exacting genuineness of jive-proof tact and factualness, wherewith those common sense distilled jewels and wisdom bedazzled talismans be gloriously embellishing their thoughtfully costly adornments of rococo studied introspection upon my consciously crowning endowment of inner smartening insight and sapience. And greatly so would I be easily basking and relaxing within this closeless living framework of a refreshingly ruminating perspective, which be assuredly bringing unto my spontaneously alerted attention the sweetly intuitive revelation that without the strictly unnecessary fundamentals of bicentennial age of propaganda and equality, sham, and perjury, I have always been a richly acknowledged and affluently extolled free man of universally supplying liberty and privilege, since the maternally delivering appearance of my majestically newborn and prologue into vitally thriving actuality. Again and again once more, with this self-enfranchised paragon of grandly demonstrating boldness and courage, be tenaciously exclaiming like a fiery Pentecostal preacher upon his wildly sermonizing soapbox about that birthright certifying endlessness of originally emancipating lavishness and prodigality, which shown enough done wholly and thoroughly validated my preciously possessed legitimacy in being an absolutely autonomous and powerfully self-governing citizen in my own inherently unenslaved and peacefully indwelling country of freely expressive successes, and character exalting favor to the ultimate. And no U.S. governmental official that would be living it up at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. No old glory venerating fanatic of status quo loving absurdness. No Dixie whistling maniac of die-hard politic and patriotism. And no Occident addicted zealot of 4th of July obsessive dottiness can continuously pull that community food and fast one of misleadingly psyching and conniving us gainfully radicalized progressives of blackness into that Bill of Rights idolizing belief and practice of steadily leading us colossally postmodern descendants of Ebon eclectic predecessors inside of that nose hooking and right eye gouging servitude of being unanimously considered as psychologically weakened, aesthetically uglified, and naturally substandard riff-raps and heathens who miraculously have been laboriously transformed into a pale-faced evolving project of culturally redeemed civilians and conservatively ransomed loyalists to the ultimate scams of Mr. Uncle Sam, moldy apple pie, flag brandishing madness, and stars and stripes revering buffoonery. Nay and nay is what I showed enough be a saying anew, as I be brutally disproving the ever ignorant and hella atrocious invention of a minority disliking old-phase mythical figments of hatefully imaginary bunk and bullcrap. For a monumentally noble and royally proper genealogy of cosmos reigning throne dwellers have always been decoratively furbishing the charismatically resilient roots, leaves, and branches of my cushionic tree of alkebulan button bloodline and virility. And my peerlessly stellar and impressively magnific stock of anciently ceremonial finesse and urbanity, done marvelously bequeathed unto my sincerely appreciating trust that phenomenally right and radiantly beautiful amenity of an enduringly sovereign and tremendously unfailing culture of self, whereby the divinely civilized and essence of dynastically refining classiness has been energetically quickening and been vibrantly electrifying a vastly multitudinous issue of victoriously lion-hearted incarnations of God-body glorifying nigrescence. And with that positively charged and solstice discharging strength of intensely hot and blissfully sultry superbness, do all but the continent nurtured offshoots of wealthily emboldened pride and quality be evermore rising on highly, like a warmly tropical embracement of super summary effervescence within their stridently lionizing famousness of Pan-Africanist freedom and manumission. And there sure enough ain't no neo-colonialistic android, nor some big brother emulating automaton of Americana bionic mastery can feasibly decree or can profitably declare with ambitiously secure surety that they are indeed the stringently heavy-handed and savage-correcting biographers of people proselytizing witchcraft and divination. And these nastily intolerant and despotically onerous opposers of indigenously self-ruling empowerment could never ever greedily attain any ill-gotten and morally corrupted credit for contentiously employing and prevailingly exerting any stupidly weighty strivings of outrageously tyrannicizing control over our psyche and bodily bound dexterity, in expertly living forth our essentially intrinsic and deeply hereditary attributes of perfectly cool and undeniably bona fide liberation galore, which definitely be keenly authorizing you and me with some of that automatically reacting know-how of us both delegating confidently and diligently activating our uncompromisingly unshackled and triumphantly unchained identities of proud-witted and soulful individuality without the superficially flaccid and eurodimensional assistance of hypocritically haggard tenets and those indulgently pharisaical storylines of blue-eyed fake and naivete and inanity. The second poem of the evening is entitled still got a race demic going on. It is most definitely so freaking difficult for me to even remotely understand or comprehend that wildly confusing and unbelievable realization of the times, where supposedly forward-living millenniumites and those seemingly futuristic socialites of modernistic enlightenment are still so utterly stupefied and so unlovingly imbecilic with their consciously unflattering craziness of being so willingly engrossed within that mindfully nasty and unappealing quagmire soup of angrily hating intolerance and spite that has been so very well known and stone notorious like Biggie in being so ultra destructive and mentally apocalyptic to the show-enough cultured and intelligent wits and senses of supposedly refined and human-centric lovers of beautiful diversity. Yet despite of all the outwardly nice and savory commercialism of allegedly positive and thinly coded pleasantries, with their sweetly sounding statements of unconditional acceptance and welcoming kindness, them severely uncomfortable and heavily stinging impressions of sorely disappointing disillusionment be suddenly cascading all over me and thee, like an overwhelmingly oppressive shadow mist of stone frightful and ghostly detriment, when majorly deceitful fronts, facades, and masquerades of mildly empathetic regard and cordial respect are horribly removed in haste from ever monstrous and exceedingly grim to death dispositions, and the truest essence and deeply unfeigned natures of wickedly segregating concupiscence be becoming far more overbearing and massively excessive in seethingly wretched comparison to those supremely lying quotas and libelous claims of purest affection and pseudo-compassionate regard from the heart. And those no longer caring, considerate, and tenderly endearing thoughts and emotions of righteously integrating accord and harmony be immediately transformed from the warmly refreshing starting point of a totally friendly daybreak into the dangerously darkened out phenomenon of a coldly desolate midnight hour that is aerially inundated all about with the irately stormy El Nino explosions of some skyline thrashing chaos and mightily violent fortitude. Even though everybody be presently chilling and coinciding within this somewhat progressive scenery of a millennial booming 21st century, it would still be totally apparent unto my carefully vigilant acuity that there are just way too many of them wrathfully incorrigible and manically bigoted enemies of equality, and with their outrageously burning and ever more demeaning attitudes of absolutely furious vexation, do these wildly abhorrent troublemakers be unjustly taking up way too much of that unrighteously containing space and shown up undeserved placement within this here amazingly eclectic rainbow planet, especially unique glory and variety? For they all be too deathly afraid and surely angst plagued to death with the greatly developing and grandly expanded possibility that they will never be feasibly able again as before to hellfire spit abroad their viciously wordy incivilities of outright discriminating terror and pain. Because every single one of those chronological tribulations of master and slave, of plantation overseer and chattel victim, of tending the big house and picking the cotton, of abusive owner and battered property, of browbeaten bias and the woeful deviltries of Jim Crowism, of agonizing servitude and those racially tyrannical abominations of a sinfully corrupted system, are ultimately obliterated and powerfully wiped clean away to never be mightily resurrected nor horridly brought back anew into that deviously dividing practice of some harmfully prejudicial necromancy, where contemporary opponents and aspiring assailants of world-redeeming change would vainly attempt that show enough failing and unsuccessfully nullified endeavor of wrongly curing up them wrathfully combatant specters and stone nefarious apparitions, with their completely dead and deeply deceased ideas and socially severing ideologies of a disgracefully neoteric form of some newly vile and desperately evil apartheid of the brain. And all of us sisterly and brotherly elements of universal solidarity would be wisely stellar enough to not get dumbly swayed like wayward meteors into that utterly rancid repudiation of some civilization wrecking separation, to where we may be eventually finding ourselves helplessly adrift from each other like the show enough unexplainable enigma spread of being sadly parted and bitterly ostracized islands that would be contrarily floating and coasting aimlessly within that chaotically choppy and crazily unstable Atlantic bag of stone disparaging and outright adversarial animosity, with some staggering discontent added to the mix. And effervescent hopefulness would be actively bubbling on highly like a stone celebratory bottle of some Martinelli cider during the happily exploding coronation of a New Year's Day, as all of them, their thoughtfully acidic resolutions of one love snubbing enmity, will finally be straight up avoided and hurriedly forced into the eliminating oblivion of a nevermore pooping banishment to nowhere. And everyone, and then some, will be richly realizing and experiencing a purely communal commonality of some divinely fresh and sincerely expressive unity that will never ever die, but will continuously arrive, abide, and abound for many millennia to come. Thank you so much for listening to these poems. I hope you like what you heard. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Also, please donate to the Tribe of Judah Poetry channel. We definitely would appreciate any donations for the channel. Thank you so much for your support and for your help. I'll come back at you with some more Tribe of Judah poetry. In the meantime, I bid you shalom.